Thanks for the opportunity. My name is Gary Stephen Jackson. I always call myself GS because it sounds cooler. But Gary Stephen Jackson, I've actually originally grew up in Atlanta, but lived overseas for about 20 years and just recently came back. And I'm going to be talking about a topic that sounds very boring, immutable IP authenticating ownership. But actually it's not. If you really want to break it down into the context, no pun intended, which you'll see a little bit later. What this is about stopping deep fakes and fake news. So we don't like to use the word fake news. We like to call them false narratives. So one of the things that we want to do is we want to kind of walk you through a technology that we built and why we built it, and to get your feedback from that. Because right now, as the coronavirus is kind of ravaging the world, we're all stuck on social media, and the disinformation is just crazy. The other thing that we're finding too is content is just being hacked and manipulated and changed. So our number one goal that we're trying to do is basically make sure that we link content to the owner. We can't stop fake news and we can't stop all this plethora of information that's coming at us, but we can link it to the people that sent it. And so that's kind of where we're going to be going for. So with that being said, we're going to talk about why did we even create this in the first place. So it's not like we wanted to do this. We actually created a monster. So one of the things that I was privileged to do, we were able to create the first magazine, Esquire magazine, Singapore, April 2019 issue, was half written by artificial intelligence and half written by human. We were really honored by that. Actually, in fact, we actually won an award, an advertising award for it. So truly, we fed artificial intelligence information. It edited, curated, and wrote articles from its own perspective, if you will. I'm going to be sending out at the end of this my slide deck. I've got a slide URL that you can kind of, actually I can do that now. I'll give that to Mary, and she can kind of, if people want to follow along with me just to kind of see where this is, they can. And one of the things that we tried to do, and let me just see if I put this in the chat. Thanks, Mary. I put this here. So one of the things that let me get back to the slide deck. Where is that? There we go. So we were able to build an AI writer that wrote Esquire magazine. And after we did it, we're pretty proud of ourselves. Now, we learned a lot from this. Basically, AI being able to write articles, we found that, we had to feed it data to create empathy. We had to feed it data to have perspective and be able to have a narrative. But one of the things we realized is we created a monster. After we've done this, and if you go to ai-writer.com, you can go and try it for yourself. We realized, how will we know in the future if a human wrote something and a bot or AI writer wrote something? So we got a little nervous because we were excited that we were able to do it. We're excited that we actually won an award, but then we were afraid, how do we start putting things on it in context that basically says, okay, this is written by human. This is organic. Not because AI is going to take over the world. I mean, not right now. I think coronavirus is doing a good job of that. But what we're also worried about is that we were worried that people could use this to manipulate the news, media, those type of things. So one of the things that I thought about was, when I was 15 years old, I used to write a lot of stories, short stories. I used to write a comic book, all of those things. And I was always afraid, paranoid that someone would steal my idea. So I'd actually print it out on my dot matrix printer. I'd put it into a manila envelope, and I would mail it to myself to get that stamp from the post office. So if anyone stole my idea, I could go to court and sue them for the idea, the infringement on my IP. Now, as we've gotten, now I'm 46 years old. Now I was about to say 45, but as I was 46 years old, now we have an issue. How do we do that? Can we do that from using new technologies? And the answer is yes. We're actually using something called blockchain, Ethereum blockchain, to basically put content out there, stamp it in the chain, and then basically link it to the actual creator or the owner of that content. And that's where we came up with the concept of Blockstamped.io. Blockstamped.io and the whole content, as I was saying, is content never out of context. That's the whole goal of what Blockstamped is. And let me explain how it works. And if you look at the slides that I passed on to Mary, you'll be able to go down and you'll be able to see, I've got a couple of videos that are linked into this that I'll play a couple of, a little bit later on if we have a little bit of time. But basically you can see the interview that we did on television where basically we share what we've done and they actually go through. We actually use it for ABC News to be able to link some content. So how this works is Blockstamped is used basically to link content to the creator, and it's focused on foiling false narratives. And how that works is we can't stop someone from believing what they're going to believe in. We can't stop someone if they believe there's a flat earth, it's a flat earth. We can't stop someone who is an anti-vaxxer. That's their opinion, their belief. But what we can say is when you write an article or you create a video, we can actually hash that video, put it onto blockchain and see if it's been manipulated or changed, or link back to see who was the person that owned this video, who put this out into the world. And here's the thing that we found out is as you're stamping this content, if you're afraid of what you're putting out into the world, you're not going to stamp it. You're not going to be able to put it out there for people to use because you're afraid of it coming back to you. So it really starts putting a little bit of honesty out there or perspective. So we're not stopping false news. We're just saying, you said this, you link it. You created this movie, you link it. You created this script, this PDF, this is yours. And so that's kind of where the concept came from. So we basically have a detection of derived content. We have a detecting deep fakes. We can also see when a film or a song or something has been manipulated, and then also a verification of ownership, which is a goal. Now, where we're going with this, the future vision for this is we basically, there's a massive onboarding. So we can't just allow anybody to come on. We basically do a really thorough onboarding to make sure you are who you say you are, or if you're an agency or if you're an organization or a corporation, we check to make sure, and there's multiple verifications for that. For the onboarding. It's almost like getting one of these global entry IDs to be able to get onboarded. But once you're certified that you are who you say you are, and you get your authentication to be able to use this, then what we can do, we allow you to upload, we take in the metadata around that, basically the time, the place, all of that information. We also create the linkages, so where they go out into the world. So if you stamp that piece of content, there's a linkage so you can see where it's being distributed, where it's being used, that kind of thing. And then there, we actually hash it and we store it. That actual hash has become kind of like the key vault, the master key, if you will, of all of the pieces of content that you own for that one. And then it's linked to the blockchain. So every time someone wants to take over ownership or change or add more things, we're always stamping it using Ethereum blockchain to put it on there for the ledger. And then basically we watermark it. So what that means is that it is yours. It's basically like you're getting a digital tattoo on that piece of content. And then we're doing something as we're moving forward, something called trans analytics. And what that goal is that because we are linking that content and it's owned by you, there's a ping that happens back to say, hey, do you own this? Who owns this piece of content? And what we can do there is some really cool things. It's one of the coolest things because right now analytics is very stalkerish, like everyone's watching you and stalking you. And the joke I always make is, what's the difference between a stalker and a friend? A stalker knows your birthday. Your friends don't unless Facebook tells them, which is a stalker. So the goal, what we're trying to do is, what if we could show you what we know about you and you can contribute to the model? And so that's kind of where we're going. And an example is this. Have you ever been to an ATM machine and you're pulling money out and you see a receipt lying around? and I do this all the time. I always like to see the balance on that ATM slip. I don't know who the person is, but I like to see, is my balance bigger? Is my balance smaller? And if my balance is smaller, I'm like, oh crap, you know, I need to get a better job. I need to work harder, whatever. But if my balance is bigger, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm crushing it. So one of the things, that's kind of the concept of trends analytics. What if we could show you the people that are watching, you get to see them, they get to see you. Who are you to create this piece of content? And we believe that that would create an affinity towards content and media and that kind of thing. So anyway, that's the concept behind it, where we're moving towards. Now, we've also went a little step further. We've also working on creating an API. This API can be used by developers as yourself. It is a platform. So Blockstamped, to be able to create linkages, it creates a platform that you can create multiple vertical applications around that as well. So, and it's all based around the smart contract idea. So it's smart contracts configured in different ways for different verticals. It also allows you to be able to a whole new suite of tools to be able to create smart contracts. You can program in Python, C++, basically error tracking, analytics pieces. You can create it for, you know, applications, those kind of things. And of course, it's JSON and compliance. And what we do here is, what we're working for is that we can create code templates that you yourself can use, and create frameworks that you can use as Blockstamped as well. And that's why we're putting those app APIs out there, so you can create verticals around it, and exchange APIs, so you can do remittance and those kind of things. It's cloud ready. We have some browser extension templates that we've got put out there. And it's, of course, if you don't want to use Ethereum, we are moving it to a place where you can actually use it on a private blockchain, something that you've created. If someone wanted to do something on their own, which is fine too. And of course, the trends analytics that I kind of brought up a little bit earlier. Now, let's talk about actual vertical. So now I've got a piece of content and I've linked it to the owner or an agency or an organization. What can I do now? How do I make money from this? Where does this go? So we're actually partnering up around media. Media, we feel, is the probably the one that's hurting the most, and especially the music industry. Coronavirus and COVID-19 just destroyed concerts, merchandise. A lot of those artists are hurting, but you know what? They were already hurting before. We have a big problem in the music industry in the sense that people are still writing checks and sending them in the mail for them to get their royalties. So it basically, as an artist, I have multiple levels above me, goes to the distribution production company, then basically they have to do a tally to find royalties, then they basically write a check, and then they have to mail it to it. Do you realize how many checks are mailed to dead people? And that's a problem. And that whole level, all that upper level of all the people it has to go through, is the massive amount of money that's taken away from the artist. What we wanted to do is, we're partnering up with a couple of the music industry titans to basically say, let's cut out the middleman or middle persons throughout the entire process and get it electronically already set up. Let's talk about that. So what we're doing is, we're using our API for Blockstamped to create stamped music, stamped film, stamped scripts, if you want to do equitable publishing splits. You can do no more cease and desist, which we'll talk a little bit about. One of the biggest problems we have right now, especially now during coronavirus, is we have this big issue where I'm doing a TikTok, or I'm doing a music, DJing music, and when I post it on Facebook or YouTube, it says, hey, I'm sorry, you don't have licensing rights to this. We're gonna have to just take it out. So it's just muted, it's just blocked. And do you realize, if we could offer the licensing on the fly for that, not only would the music company, a music publishing company, make money, the artist would make money, and it would be immediate. So that's when we're working on trying to make sure that we can get that going. And of course, IP protection. You can actually link, because we've done the linkage, no one can break away that who owns the song, who owns the lyrics. We have all that linked in the blockchain. Now, so where we are moving towards our future vision for this, for Based, and Based is actually a derivative of one of our partners in there, Basie Bob. Basie Bob is one of the, he's a multi-Grammy award winner, Oscar nominated music producer. He created all the music that made me who I am. Basically, especially through my teenage years, he was the man that made every song to everything that made me fall in love or date or start dancing in the first place. Artists like Debbie Gibson, Mary J. Blige, Notorious B.I.G. And so we thought to pay homage to what he's doing and trying to help us out, we called it Based.io. And what we're moving towards is not just linking things to the blockchain, but also linking the production contents and metadata, the distribution information to that, the licensing information, remittance. So basically, instead of having to cut a check, it actually distributes money directly to the artist through, Venmo, Cash App, any of those different ones, and also detects how many plays, who is using the song, where's it been sampled. So being able to see all over the world who's taking your song and not shut it down, but just know what the demographics were around that. And then there's a white listing and what we call a gray listing. White listing is you approve these to be licensed. The gray listing is we're not going to block it, but here's all the gray listing. These are the people that are using your music or your film, your media, but you haven't given them permission yet. They need to negotiate a license to use that for a period of time or territory and that kind of thing. And so we have those two things that we're working on. And then the final thing, which I think is very cool, is being able to audit the big music industry titans. We're talking about Spotify, YouTube. So Spotify might say as an artist that you had 1 million plays, but we're showing when it pings, is every time it gets played, it has to ping back to us. We're showing, we're showing 2 million. So you're not getting paid enough. It's a great way to audit as an artist how many YouTube plays were done. And that's kind of where we're moving with things. So just some quotes, just to kind of pander to Pacey Bob. One of the things is the music industry has been in a desperate need to lock music to the musician who created it for decades. And that's what we're trying to do here. But in the end, a hit song has an originator. Being one that has been the originator of multiple hit records, having a safety net to say, this is mine, has been a godsend. So that's really where we're working for. We're working with the film industry as well, with Pipeline Entertainment, who's basically doing film, television shows, and scripts and those kind of things. And then lastly, basically Wendy Day, who discovered Eminem. She basically has come out and to be able to say, okay, now I want my new artists to be able to block stamp their content so no one can be taken advantage of. Wendy Day has been fantastic about fighting the music industry of not taking advantage of rappers or R&B singers and those kind of things. So with that being said, let's talk about those are the things that we're trying to take over. Let's say if we're successful, let's talk about the market. The market, even if we get 1% of the market, we're talking about 1% of the corporations, the legal firms, the celebrities, and then basically 0.1%, we're looking at a massive market. And if you look at this too, we're offering 2 subscription types. We're offering a professional and a personal. What does professional and personal, what does it mean? A professional means there's a massive hierarchy. It's an organization, it's an agency, it's a BMI, it's a, whatever the music company is. So you can basically have someone log in as an agency. You can have multiple people underneath it being able to stamp content and be able to put it out there for the world and be able to follow up on it. Now, the personal package is one-on-one. You stamp stuff, it's yours. Stamp stuff, it's yours. Now, you can always change things to basically be to other owners, but right now, it's just a one-on-one. And those are our 2 packages that we're offering right now. And one of the things I just wanted to put out here, this is a very busy slide, but I wanted to show you why this industry, we thought it was fixed after Napster and everybody said that things are broken. It's more broken now than ever. For a 99 cents download from iTunes back in the day, or Apple Music or Spotify, the artist is only getting paid 4 cents. So there's this massive gap of 20 to 30% of percentage that's being taken away from them. What we want to do is we want to alleviate that and give a higher percentage of royalty to the artists, the music producers, and the music supervisors that are out there. And this is how it works. So now we've used Blockstamped to link content. Now we're actually using our API to do Based, which is the app within the Blockstamped. And we take a music catalog, we add in all the lyrics, the genre, the actual song, the AAC, the MP3, and then we do a hash of that. Then we actually link it to a smart contract. From that smart contract is linked to a rate card. That rate card could be a template that's already been built out, and you can define the territory, period, educational, advertising, whatever the type of it is. And then there's a negotiation that happens. You have to put in all the people that you want to be able to use this piece of media who are responsible for creating it, the creators. You send their emails and there's a negotiation. Okay, what percentages do we want to split this out? And then there's a remittance. Every time there's a licensing of that content and how it works between the artists, the songwriters, the music producer, and the music supervisor. Same goes for film directors, executive producers, screenwriters, those kind of things. And then we take a transactional fee. Our transactional fee is variable based on if you're going to do this in bulk, if you're going to bulk load an entire album or multiple albums, or just one song at a time. So it's between 3 and 7%, just like a banking transaction that we're taking from that. But think about it. Normally, for a music artist, they're paying 20 to 30, even more percentage per song, per licensing. And what we're doing here is we're taking a very small percentage for that to help them out. And here's an example of how this could work. So this is from yesterday. I actually got a Facebook cease and desist. I actually uploaded, I was DJing a little bit, just playing around, playing some music, and it basically says the stream has been muted. And it is. You'll see in the beginning, there's nothing. And then as you play on through it, it gets, there's a song that plays and then it gets muted. And that's a problem because you're just stopping the music from being distributed. You don't even know who's been listening to it because of the legalism. We're not trying to get rid of lawyers. What we're trying to say is, let's just make things speed up. Let's take money off the table because we're just saying, nope, you can't use it. But now what if we did this? The next time we go and we upload a song or something for a background or soundtrack to, you know, a baby being born or a marriage ceremony, instead of saying, nope, can't use it, what we say is, hey, that music you tried to upload is available for licensing in your region. Would you like to do that? And you pay a certain amount of money for, you know, for a small territory, for a small amount of time, and then you can own it and it doesn't get distributed. Now, what's great about that is that money goes directly to the artist immediately, and all the people that are above them very quickly, and you can use it instead of just leaving that money on the table. Here's another example. Let's say you have photos that you want to use. And of course, we're not trying to get into the stock photos and try to attack them or try to compete with them. What we're offering is our API. So our API, you can see here, as you're doing a Google search through there, we actually have an opportunity where we can say, hey, here's a photo, I'd like to purchase it. Just right click on it and I could basically buy that photo based on, you know, the negotiated price, and they can move on. So right from the browser, you can be able to purchase that, which is pretty incredible. And then the last thing, which we will show if you look at the link, is being able to detect deep fakes, taking news, manipulating the news, or taking a person's face and transposing on someone and having them say something they didn't say. So we basically, once they stamp that content and we hash it, we can detect when something's been derived or changed. And what we've done with that is it comes from our API. So basically being able to detect, and we can detect that through a Chrome extension, Mozilla extension that we have that basically looks at the hash and be able to detect it. We're still working on the entire algorithm, but that's kind of where we're going with everything that we have. And we even have, if you want to see on here, we have an interview on television where we walk you through how this works for the ABC News and that kind of thing. With that being said, I did want to, before I close, I did want to show you a quick little demo of how it works. You can still go to blockstamped.io and request a demo. Would love to do that. But I have a demo here that I'd love to show everyone. It's very quick. It's about 90 seconds. And of course, all it has is cool music to it, so you don't have to worry. But basically, and I'll do a voiceover for this. So basically, here's a licensing. So when you log in to blockstamped.io, you log in and with your unique, and we've already onboarded and authenticated you. Then you have your, basically you have your organizational ID, your blockchain address, and you can see the unstamped files and then the stamped files and the licenses you've already purchased. So you can basically see that. You can also see the people that actually sold you those licenses. And then you can also see who they've been sold to or been used because they're on the chain. And you can also see the license, broadcast worldwide for 1 year for $8,000. Then you can also go to blockstamped.io and search. You can be able to see different types of content. You can be able to see JPEGs, PDFs, and search for those and say, okay, I like this. I'd like to purchase this license for a certain amount of time. And so when you do the purchase, you go through, you basically choose the license that you would like to select. I want to do broadcasts. I want to do the use of it, personal or commercial. And then of course, this is based on a template rate card, different rate cards for different types of industries and different corporations. That's pretty easy. And then basically you can purchase. Now, the other thing it can do is, let's say someone uploads an image or MP3 or something, or AAC file that looks like yours. We actually, when you upload that, we detect the hash. So once we've hashed it and we see the same hash, we say, oops, sorry, that's already been updated. You can't use that. Now, what we're going to do later on is be able to tell you those people that have already detected it so you can purchase a license. But here's a stamp. So basically I can upload a file, stamp it, then basically I use MetaMask to actually buy Ether to be able to stamp that. And the Ether is very, very small, very minuscule cost. And now basically after you've stamped that piece of content, you can even trace out the transaction for it. Anyway, that is everything that I have. I really can entertain questions. Mary, I really appreciate it. I'm pretty sure everyone is exhausted. I've had 3 cups of coffee, but I'm ready for questions. So if anybody has any questions or wants to, you know, ask me anything, I'm ready to go.
Well, that was awesome. And I think even since last time I, chatted with you in Atlanta, things have progressed, and I'm really excited to see where Blockstamped is going.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it. We've been working. Actually, we were working on it to the very last minute. Probably in the last 5 minutes, we probably did some pushes to the website. So it's brand new. It smells fresh like a brand new car.
Well, it looks fresh, and I'm excited to see the growth for y'all. I saw one comment come through. Y'all who are still tuned in, please submit Q&A. I know we have a couple minutes left. It's up here.
Oh, good. I was worried that I was running too late. So that's why.
No, you're doing great. It's 7:52 Central, so I think we've got 8 more minutes on the clock.
Perfect. Good.
I don't know if this one came through at 7:41. This is during your talk. Do you work with OTT companies?
Yes, actually, I came from an OTT company, 108 Media, that was out of Singapore. So yes, I'm working with a lot of them who are basically trying to put their own content out there. So that the answer to that is Pipeline Entertainment's also one of those partners. But yes, I do work with OTT companies. So please send us an email or just, I think, just send us a message on Blockstamped on Facebook or Instagram or something like that.
I know we've got a couple minutes left. I've not seen anything else come through, but what are your current projects? Anything else fun in the works? I know last time we chatted about this, you had met with some folks in Atlanta about potential partnerships in the music industry, and got to chat with Bob a bit about the work y'all are doing. What's the future look like for you?
Yeah, so music is where we're really at. So right now, Bob has his own sync company, which basically is the company that sells the music to film, television, web design, that kind of thing. So he's creating his own agency there in New Orleans, which is right next to you, as you know. And we're partnering up with them to make sure that it's seamless. So when he sells that licensing to the film companies and to the television series, it is all digital. And no one can fight to say, hey, I really own this. It's been stamped. Right. So we're really partnering there to kind of integrate his Muse OS, which is a music one-stop. That's his company, with our backend for the API for us. So we're focused on that. Then after that, the next goal is trying to get into television. Someone said OTT, working on film, movies, that kind of thing as well. So that's. But right now, everything's dead. The coronavirus, but music isn't. And so that's why we can still move right now, because you see it. As soon as we get off this, how many DJs are going to be doing live sets on Instagram? You know what I mean? Comedians doing live sets. That's another thing. I used to be a stand-up comedian. Not a good one, but I used to be a good one. But you can put your set out there and record it and see if someone's kind of, if you do the subtext of it, you can see if someone's stealing jokes and posting up there or taking memes. So that's going to be very powerful as we move forward with this stuff.
Absolutely. And the person who asked about OTT companies sent you a connection request on LinkedIn.
Oh, perfect. That's great. Yeah, that's my MySpace.
That's how we met.
It shows how old I am. Sorry.
No, I hear you. MySpace is still wasn't.
Yeah, it's still there. If you go to the way back archives, you can still find my MySpace page.
So a question came through, Gary. Is there any integration to patent and license APIs or something like it?
That is a great question. That's something we've talked about that we're trying to work on. If they have or know of someone that we could use, yes, but we're trying to find partners for that. So if we could, oh my God, we're trying to go out on our own, because the problem is, this is a little controversial, right? We're going to get rid of this massive administration overhead. It's going to help everyone, but so a lot of people have been kind of reluctant to use this, except for new artists who are being screwed. Pardon my language, but we would love to be able to partner out with some of those patent, and that would be fantastic if we could get that. So if you know of any, we're reaching out to a couple that I know, because I was formerly from Hong Kong about 2 years ago. I got some people that are in patent and IP, and then there's some that I know in Atlanta, but nothing's been solidified yet. We're trying to.
And the same person said, I mean to ask that what makes it legit contract signing in this whole system of blockchain is what they're trying to understand. So
I'm sorry, say again.
How does blockchain legitimize contract signing?
Well, the one thing about that's a great question. One of the things that I love about blockchain, and this is just a simplified way of saying it, is basically you're creating an accounting ledger that has every debit, credit, every transaction that's ever happened to that piece of content, from the creation of it to its life cycle. Now imagine that accounting ledger that's there, and now multiply it by millions and millions of servers that has the exact same copy of that ledger that's out there. So what's great about it is, with a piece of paper in a ledger or a contract, I can tear the contract up, or the bank could burn down. But what's great about with using blockchain digitally, it won't be erased unless an asteroid hits Earth and wipes out Earth, or there's an EMP and it wipes out, basically all the servers on the planet. So that's what's great about it is, it's not just one accounting contract. What's great about it is it really allows you to copy it throughout the entire blockchain system, which is Ethereum at this point. And so that makes it a little bit more legitimized. Now, remember, we're not a cryptocurrency. We're just using the blockchain piece of that. But you do have to buy a little bit of Ether to make that stamp. So.
Same person says, glad to hear your answers. Appreciate the great demo. Can we connect on LinkedIn, and what's your number on LinkedIn?
Sure. GS Jackson. Just look up GS Jackson. GS stands for Gary Stephen Jackson. So I was going to come up with a cool word, but too much coffee. I think I'm killing my synapses.
Great storytelling.
Great story. Hey,
yeah,
thank you, Mary. You're going to be my
so
agent.
Welcome.
Yeah, you got it. And you know what? I tell you, in the face of adversity, I really thank Tech Talent South for this opportunity. I was telling my girlfriend the other last night, just seeing people in a chat room together, just talking about random, it made me feel more connected. So I really appreciate, I know you guys were probably really nervous about how's this going to go, but I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart that you went ahead with this and brought all of us together. I think it's an amazing thing all of you did.
100%. I'm so glad we were able to. Oh, thank you, Gary. It's exciting to be able to bring people together, around a shared love of tech. And, my whole world is getting to travel and bring people together in physical spaces. So when this all happened, we're like, okay, how can we continue to do this, but in a digital space? And it's cool because we've been able to do that with our classes as well. So now all these students around the country are actually meeting in virtual environments and building connections in Dallas and Hartford and Phoenix and Charlotte. And it's so great to still be able to grow and foster community in the tech industry. So glad to have you here. Oh, looks like one more thing came through Q&A.
Sure.
Awesomeness, Gary.
Oh, that's great.
From someone named Peter. They think you're awesome.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I just also want to make sure that people know this is not just me. There's a ton of people behind me. Daniel, who is our chief of technology, who's based out of Mexico City. Basie Bob, who's in New Orleans, who's also watching this. He's been helping out and giving us input from a industry perspective. Fantastic. And then, of course, Toby, who's in San Francisco. Basically, probably his fingers are bleeding. He's been coding so much. So, and there's tons of other people, but I just wanted to thank all of them. They're the ones who's making this happen.
That's so awesome. Well, Gary, it's a pleasure as always. Thank you so much for your time. I know we're right at 8, and I'm sure our viewers are ready to unwind. Yeah, they learned so much tonight. I know my brain hurts from all of the great things our speakers have shared, but it was great to see you. Y'all checked out blockstampt.io. Find Gary listed as GS Jackson on LinkedIn to stay connected. And, we hope to see you soon.
Thank you so much, Mary.
Thank you.